Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Impactful Conversations. We are back with episode 35, which I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce to you today. I will introduce my guest shortly. Before I do that, I just want to thank you so much for the wonderful community that you're a part of, for the engagement that you have with us, for the feedback that you've given us, and for listening to the show and watching the show. We really are, really proud of the community that we have built, and look forward to continuing to build that community. And without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Lintle Tsoake. She is the co-founder and managing director of Linton Consulting, who are in mining, construction, training, and recruitment. Linton Consulting provide high value, they provide value through high quality and globally inspired mining and construction solutions. Lintle is a mining engineer. She did mining engineering at the University of Witwatersrand, just up the road from where not up the road, but just around the city from where I'm recording currently. To me, she is one of the top young leaders on this continent, and one that I'm sure you'll hear much more about. Starting with this particular episode. So Lintle, I want to welcome you. Good evening to you. How are you doing this evening?
I'm all right. How are you? Greetings to you.
Yeah, no, I'm great, thanks. It's a fantastic Saturday. It's been a bit hot, but unfortunately the rain's blessed us a little bit this afternoon. So I'm quite happy about that. So, Lintle, without further ado, I want to dive into it, right? So, what we typically do is I typically give the guest or the listener an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So at the offset, I've obviously introduced you. I've told people what you do, the fantastic work that you do, which you're going to hear more about. But I want to know, tell us a little bit more about yourself in terms of where you were born and where you grew up.
Right. Okay. Right. Firstly, I'll say thank you for really having me here. I really appreciate it. It is a great honor. So, you already gave a brief background of who I am. I think I'll just dive into where I was born. So I'm from Carltonville, and I grew up there. It's a small mining town in the West Rand. It's surrounded by a few gold mines, and so that's where I grew up. I did my high school there, my primary school. Although in high school, I did also move to Free State, in Virginia, a place called Virginia. I studied there as well for a year and went back to Carltonville. And that's really what I've been all about. And
So that's really interesting, right? And I have an affinity for mining towns, so I think we'll talk a little bit about that later. But tell me, Lintle, what are you passionate about?
Okay, so right, that's a very interesting question right there. So I'm passionate about teaching and coaching. I really, normally want to enlighten people on certain concepts that I'm really sharing knowledge in certain parts. And I'm also passionate about, meditating on scriptures. I do that a lot. And that's one of the things I can say I'm passionate about. I love modeling, and I'm currently modeling, I'm modeling for Downtown Radio. And those three, I think they are top of the list, modeling, coaching, or even teaching, if you put it like that, as well as really being able to, I did mention on scriptures, meditating on them, and that's what I'm passionate about. Yeah,
and I love those passions. I think it really speaks to who you are, and I look forward to talking to you a little bit more about some of those throughout this particular chat. So, I want us to talk about what you studied. And I'm quite interested to get to understand why mining engineering.
Right. I get that question a lot, hey? Okay. All right. So I would expect that as well, to be asked that by you as well. So why mining engineering? I think I did mention that I'm from Carltonville. And growing up in that environment, for me, made me to really appreciate mining so much. I know for certain people, they would want to branch into something different from what they've been exposed to. But for me, it was that thing of, I want to do this professionally, but this is how it started. So I wanted to do anything in engineering, but I really didn't know what exactly. And I remember, I used to study like from the library in my high school. I remember I was there was this big book, with all these careers. And I went to the section of, engineering, and I went through all the fields of engineering. As I was reading through all those disciplines, I didn't really find any other interesting other than mining. And I think that itself was just born from me growing up in that environment. My whole family is in mining. My dad is in mining, my brother, my sisters, my uncle. So my immediate family members are really in mining. I'd be that person waking up in the morning and, when you open the window, you see a headgear. It's that kind of environment. So I think, so it's been that. And I think, I've been exposed so much to it that I was like, you know what, I want to pursue this professionally. Though, like I said, for some people, it could be different to say, no, we want something different. But for me, it was that. And that is why mine.
So, I find that really interesting, right? It's also interesting how much your environment has also, played an influence in that, and, where you grew up as well. That's a super interesting analogy as well. So, speaking as well around exposures and environments and so on, you did a bit of vacation work whilst in university. I'm quite interested in that. So can you speak to me about the value that you gained from doing that vacation work?
Right. Okay, so I'll start by saying that it does have value. Vacation work has a lot of value, and it gives you exposure. So imagine being in a class, and for example, in my course spec, and you are taught about the rays, you are taught about the panels, you have to do all these sketches, you have to, do technical drawing, and you have no idea on what you are actually drawing there. Like, sometimes it can be very difficult because you have never been exposed to these things. They speak about traveling ways in class. You're like, oh my gosh, what is this? So the value of that for me was that, getting to the mine and you get to see what you've been sketching there in first year. So it's kind of enlightening. It empowers a lot because now when you go back to varsity, or rather after the holidays, you know what you're dealing with, you know what to expect. And so it's that exposure, it's the greatest thing that it has. But I also say that it also gives you, opportunity to network. You get to meet, your seniors in the industry, and that puts you in a very good space as a graduate. I know of someone who, is currently a senior accountant, and it all started in work. I remember, when she got there, she really did so well during her work times. She was one of the students who were really doing well. They were committed. She was asking questions. She was, going wherever everyone was going, at the mine. So that in itself put her in a very better, position, because by the time she graduated and she had to, go back for the interview in that very same company, it was easier because, the people have seen her, they've seen her work. Even when she's been interviewed, at least they have proof, whatever she's saying, they've seen it before. They know the kind of person she was. So that put her in a better place. And I'd say, so work is exposure for me, and also networking. You meet those great people out there, and you're able to advocate for yourself. Many a times you cry about jobs. Yes, I do understand that, but also we do have the opportunity, during work to actually be able to advocate for yourself. So it's that.
Yeah, and I think what you said there is quite profound. As a chemical engineer myself, I can speak to the value of having done some form of vac work around that exposure, and getting to see what you call the real thing, right? Getting out there and actually seeing exactly what it is that you do. When you do it in theory in a classroom or in a lecture hall and so on. So we started off a little bit quick, and we dived right into your life story. So I'd like us to slow it down a little bit. So obviously as a mining person, I'm assuming you've been underground, and I've been underground twice. It's been quite an experience, but can you tell us, what is that like being underground?
Very interesting question it is. So maybe let me start here. Currently, I'm not going underground because now I'm full-time at Linton. But I'll speak of when I was still, working at Mponeng mine. Quite interesting. I loved it. I'll say that, For me, I used to say that mining is adventurous. It's a place where it is exciting. Some people can differ with me, but this was my view. So it is interesting in a sense that, you get to see how the rock behaves, and sometimes you look at the rock, you just see no difference, something very, very, dull and stuff. But underground, you actually see the rock behaving. There's some sound that you will get from there, especially because it was a seismic active mine, because it's very deep, it's a deep level mine. So for me, the interesting part was, the behavior of the rock more than anything, and how it would, today you would go assess a certain place, assess a certain panel, and then tomorrow when you go to the same place, things have changed, Now there's different fractures, and okay, I didn't see these fractures yesterday, especially when they keep on blasting and all of that, things keep changing, the conditions, they keep changing. So it's that interesting part for me. It's quite interesting to see, the rock, behaving like that. You're like, is this alive, or what's happening? So it's that. So underground, it is quite an interesting place to really be in.
Yeah, no, look, when I've been underground, I was visiting, right? So I think it's very different if you're going there with the mining expertise that you do have. For myself, being a processing person also is very different. So I was also trying to see what is it that goes on down here, for all the material that we do process, trying to figure out where it comes from. So I can really say it is quite fascinating. So you spoke about mining towns and, being born in a mining town, growing up in a mining town. Other than Carletonville, what is your favorite mining town that you've visited or stayed in?
Right. Okay. For staying, I've only stayed in Carletonville as a mining town.
Mm-hmm.
But for visiting, I've visited quite a number of them. Limpopo, and Rustenburg, your Pumalanga. I'd say really Rustenburg, I really loved it, mainly because of, from my view, I think it's really not much depending on, the mining side of things, like Carleton, whereby, you see those towns like also Virginia, for example, whereby, the town is so much dependent on mining, such that when the mines close, the town becomes a ghost town, it becomes like that. But in Rustenburg, I think there's many other things going on other than mining. So I think that's one of the interesting things that I really loved about it, that, even if mines could close down today, from my view, I think things can still be operational other than, just being all dull and it's a ghost town now. So yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah, I can, Rustenburg is quite an interesting place. I think it really has thrived. So walk me through your typical day. What is a day in the life of Lintle look like? During the week, for example, let's say it's a random Tuesday. Walk me through it. How does it start? How does it warm up? How does it end? How do you wind down as the day goes along?
Right. I did mention that my passion is also in meditating scriptures. So that's how my day would start. Meditation and just being able to be settled within myself. That's very important. One needs to draw power from somewhere, from within, or whatever the case may be. So that's how my day starts. Right now at Linton, we are working mostly on our new strategies, and also I'm working on establishing some of the spheres that were not yet operational, which are still not yet operational. So my day is mostly on research and actually working on, being able to make ends meet, to be able to establish all the other spheres and other new strategies, which I can't really mention at the moment. But yeah, it's mostly research and, drafting reports, submitting staff meetings. But obviously it does depend on what day it is and if I do have a scheduled meeting for that day. But it's mostly research and drafting some reports. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds super interesting. And I think it is really important. You said, you have to draw your power, from somewhere. That's quite a good point. So your entrepreneurship journey, right? So let's talk about this. I'm really excited to dive into this with you. Talk to me about the journey of starting the Linton Consultancy. Where was that born? Walk me through it.
Right. Okay. So Linton was born, firstly, I'll start on the year in 2020, last year, during the level 5 lockdown. That's when it was born. And so it all started here in 2019, when I got to the mine as an intern. I was working on this other project called Face Parallel Preconditioning. And it was a very big project, and it was very interesting. And yeah, so as I was running it, I then had to present the project, right, in 2019. And I remember as I was presenting, one of my colleagues, took a video of me. And yeah, I never posted that video in 2019. Only during lockdown, you are there at home, it's all quiet, it's lockdown. Yeah. So as I was going through LinkedIn, I thought, why not share my video from 2019 here on LinkedIn, right? Then I took 30 seconds of that video and I posted on LinkedIn. And yeah, the response was good, from online. And that's where I virtually met my co-partner, right? That's where I met my co-partner through that video virtually. And yeah, so there was a need, that he, had, if I put it like that, for the mind back at same. So we decided, okay, why not partner and then see how we can actually run things that side. And also I already had, this passion for VEX students. I remember when I was still at varsity, people not being able to graduate at some point because of they have not done VEC work, right? And of course, the school was working so hard to get everyone a VEC work, but I mean, in a class of 300, 200, you can't get everyone a VEC work, right? So for me, that has always been my mission, to be able to assist those students one day, but obviously I didn't know how. So it was one of the things that made me want to jump into this idea of opening a mining consulting company where I'll be able to, go back and do what I always wanted to do. But it was also the matter of, we wanted to be a go-to company. That's where recruitment comes in, whereby when a candidate thinks of a job, they think about Linton. And that is why we have our own database of our candidates, from general managers, section managers, we do have in our database, mine overseership bosses, whatever you can name in the mining side of things. So we wanted to be that kind of a company, especially because also Hilton, my co-partner, okay, he's based in the UK. So already he's been in the business world for a while, and he does have also this recruitment side of things. So we wanted to use the same systems that they have and really replicate them this side in South Africa, hence the recruitment side. And yeah, also the pain that we used to, from my side, seeing how sometimes employers would really go through a lot to get the best candidate, If my work is not really about recruitment, I always want to focus more on the other things than recruitment. So having to pause, your operations just to go and hunt for the best candidate can always be a pain. So I also wanted to be able to meet such a need. So Linton was really born from needs that we wanted to meet and also be a go-to company. So yeah, that's how it was born. We registered it, and yeah, there's many other things that we are working on right now.
Sounds incredibly exciting. I think it really sounds like something which I think people would love to get to know more about, and I'm quite keen to dive into the journey and to the different aspects of the journey with you. So I mean, let's talk about the start, right? You obviously started this business very early on into your career. And we all know that mining is an experienced, valued industry, where experience is highly valued. And starting a business quite early on into a career with not much experience in the bigger context of the mining industry. I'm quite interested to know what urged you to carry on the journey to start it.
Interesting. So passion and vision are everything. I believe when someone has a vision of something, despite which route they can take, they can still attain that actual vision that they have. So I had, a few conversations with some people in at senior levels, and this is actually what we once discussed about, how people always wanted to start their own thing, you find that those people there in the high, in the high ranks in the industry, they always wanted to start something, but now with where they are becomes more difficult, and explain how. But before I get there, something that I've also realized is that, in schools or growing up, from my experience, is that we get taught to work for someone else. It's not necessarily work for yourself. There's nothing wrong with working for someone, but also we be able to balance the two and show people that actually you can do whatever you want. You don't only have to be, raised in a manner of you need to work for someone, you need to work for someone, but it must also be that thing of you can do whatever you want at any stage, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the discussion I had with them was, they wanted to start something at an early stage, especially in mining, because they are mining engineers. But you find that now, especially with where they are, they can't really go back and start their own mining companies because there'll be a conflict of interest now. So it's a little late in their career to actually do that now. Yes, if they want to open any other thing, they can still do that, but not specifically mining and the field that they've studied in, right? And also it has the matter of salary to say, oh my gosh, now I'm up there and I'm getting this big amount. Having to leave that and go start from level one, it's quite hard, because although yes, perhaps you have some savings, you do well, but you still need to start from level one. You don't be the same as getting salary every month, that big amount. So starting at an early stage, like I am, I don't have to worry about the big salary that I'm leaving behind, or I don't need to worry about the conflict of interest now, you understand? So for me, it's always about, I wanted to give, back to the industry, in the same field, giving back to the industry at a younger age. So I won't have to worry about much of those things. Yes, it requires a lot of experience, but I believe anyone can still grow in whatever route they would have taken. Doesn't mean that now I'm a mining engineer, I can only gain experience in the mines. No. I can gain experience anywhere I am. If I've chosen that route, I can still grow in that very same route. You understand, that I would have chosen at that time. So it's really that. And also, obviously, working with the people who are also experienced in the field. Linton can be 1 year old, but I tell you, it's like it's been there for 30 years, for example, because of the kind of people that are working there. So it's also that you still grow in that as well. So for me, it's that may people have the mindset of you can do anything. You can work for yourself, you can work for someone, but may there be a balance there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super. I think really inspiring words there. I think I love what you said at the beginning around, passion, being at the core of that, being, if you're passionate about something, that anything is possible. And I really admire the way that you've taken on this journey. I think it's exceptional, and it really speaks to your character and to who you are. So that's a really, really something that I'm sure you get told a lot, but I think it's something to be proud of as well.
Yeah.
And tell me, your education and professional background is in mining engineering.
Yeah.
But obviously, running a business and running a consultancy requires work outside of the actual mining itself, right? Outside of the sort of knowledge that you studied for and that you trained for and so on. I'm interested to know, what were the most important skills that you've had to pick up in starting this journey?
All right. Very good question. So I'll start by saying that for consulting, most of the skills that are actually required there are stuff that mostly one would have acquired from their course pack at varsity. Okay, speaking for myself, right? Because you need stuff like, report writing skills, presentation skills, either in writing, orally, virtually. Those are the kinds of skills you need. Conducting research, those are the kind of skills you need. But when you look at them, already you would have acquired from varsity, although I still needed to polish on some points. But one or two most important skills that I had to really acquire for this specific field now, other than what I acquired in varsity, was conducting interviews, in order to understand the business, with whatever organization that would be my client at that time. You'd need to interview them and understand exactly what business they are in, what the pain is, such that they came to the expert. for whatever that they need help with. So it is that. Also for the recruitment side, I had to really grasp the skills of interviewing candidates as well. And also mostly also the part of being able to, detect issues in the system of the organization. Because sometimes when a client comes, they could be having, challenges with their systems, for example. But truth is, in all the components of that system, there's only one main constraint, But most of the times when you come, like, no, it's like you're sick everywhere. You're not sure where the problem is. I'm just sick everywhere. So, in consulting, you need to be able to have the skill of detecting what the main issue is, investigating on that issue, then give recommendations, be able to report back with solutions, improve their efficiencies. So those are some of the skills that I really needed to get, being able to detect the main constraint in the whole system, all the components, what's the main constraint in that system, such that everything is just crashing. So yeah, it's that.
Super valuable skills, right? What I love about what you said is that it's something that one does, pick up, for example, as in your case, in the studies, for example, at university. So actually, the tools are there. It speaks back to what you said earlier on the passion and the drive and the energy towards going for that journey. So I think it's super inspirational and profound in terms of what you said. So something I'm also quite interested in, sir. So Lintle, you are a co-founder of the business. Let's talk about the benefits and the challenges of starting a business together with somebody else. And I'm sure this is a question that a lot of aspiring or current or future entrepreneurs do have, around the fact that, what are the benefits of having a co-founder? What are the benefits of doing it myself? What are the benefits of that? And I'm quite interested to get your take, based on your experience, based on what you've seen, based on what you've learned. What are the benefits and challenges of, starting a business together with somebody else?
Right. Okay, that's a very interesting one. I think given the scriptures, they do enlighten us to say, one, may be overpowered, right? And then two, can defend themselves. But a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So what I'm trying to get to is working with someone is always better than doing something alone, right? So in my case, I'll speak mostly of benefits, because for challenges, we haven't really been faced with those big challenges where co-partners are fighting and all of that. It's mostly maybe minor misunderstandings that you resolve quickly through communication, And so for the benefit is really that, like I said, Hilton has been in the business world for a while now. And me being in the field, sometimes, I get overwhelmed a lot, because I'm still learning as well. But you find that person be like, no, when you're faced with that situation, this is how you deal with it. When you're faced with that situation, this is how you deal with it. And also in the part of when the business is not doing well, you find that he's really the backbone for the business financially as well. So I think those are some of the benefits that I can pick on. It's really that support. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on some really important core principles, that you've referenced in scripture, around firstly working together, around the strength of and in the strength and unity that there is, and I think that's an extremely valuable lesson for any entrepreneur that is listening to this, or somebody who does want to start a business in the future as well. And just around picking up on what you said around support and guidance, quite interested, has mentorship played a valuable role in your journey, and if it has, how has it actually been valuable for you?
Right. I'll start by saying mentorship is very important, because especially when you're still growing, from the early stages of your career, sometimes things can be a bit blurry. You might not know which direction to take. So for me, it has been that from the beginning of my career, my mentor, okay, his name is Ronald. He's the VP in Sibanye Still Water in Rustenburg. Siphumelele Shaft. And for me, while he was still at Anglo Gold Ashanti, he was able to really guide me into which route to take, right? Although in mining, but production is not for everyone, right? The route of production in mining is not for everyone. So you really need to know, but sometimes it's not really clear to say which route am I gonna take. So having such people like your mentors, they're able to know that you are this kind of a person and that's where you can win. And he was able to really direct me in that direction. And yeah, here I am today. And also, yeah, my spiritual leader, Pastor Ebenezer, sorry for being a bit churchy, but yeah, it's really been, really a great support. I believe I wouldn't be here today, because things, business is really, there's rise, there's a fall. So you really need that support, someone who can be able to say, okay, we keep moving, don't stop, So it's really been that kind of support for me as well. And yeah, it's really a blessing for me.
Yeah, and I think I can really attest to the power of mentorship, having people that you can lean on for advice and guidance and counsel. And I think I really appreciate you speaking to the value of that. Really appreciate that, and I think people would find that quite inspirational to know. In terms of a message to aspiring entrepreneurs, what is your message to them? Split this up in three groups, right? So those who are perhaps thinking of starting a business, who are entertaining the thought or flirting with the thought of starting a business. Those who, and secondly, those who have started, but are probably in that, no man's land where they haven't quite made it, but they've started it, they're in the middle of that journey. And those who are established as well, particularly in South Africa right now. What is your message to those entrepreneurs?
Right, very important. So for those who are still that place where they say, I want to start.
Yeah.
I'll say, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Start. You must be able to. So business is risky. You must be someone courageous to take risks. Go for it. Don't wait for anything. What's there to wait for? I'll say that you need to empower yourself by actually also going to places like workshops that will be able to boost you in whatever way that you're trying to start in. But the most important thing is starting and not waiting. Maybe you're also worried about financial side of things. I don't have finances. How do I start? I want to start, but I need this much. But I'll say this to you, you can start somewhere. I know of really great businesses that can really start with only 125 rands. Want to know? You can DM me. I know them, and you can really go big with that from that 125, and then eventually you can start your own thing. But I also say that there are people like investors who are really willing to invest, and I know of those as well. You also want to know, let me know. And yeah, there are people who are really willing to invest to the right, people who have the greatest visions, people who have the right mindset. So if you want to start, have that plan and network as well, attend workshops, meet the right people, be in the right circles. Sometimes you're not starting because of also the circle you are in, the kind of people you are surrounding yourself with can be pulling you down. So also be careful of that. What kind of people am I surrounding myself with? There could also be a reason, but also it can be you, because sometimes you're stuck in a comfort zone, come out of it. Business requires people who stand, who work, and who take risks,
Yes.
Yeah. And then now for people who started, but, haven't made it, I'll say that, in business, you need to persevere. You need to endure. It won't always be a rise. There'll also be a fall. But don't be stuck in that fall, Don't sit. Now, once I've fallen, now I'm going to be stuck there. No, you need to be able to rise. And also, like we spoke of systems earlier, be able to check, assess what is going wrong here? What's the actual issue? Why am I stuck? You need to be able to ask yourself such questions. Is it me? Am I lazy? Is it the people around me? Is it finances? What exactly is the problem? And deal with that problem. Don't be stuck. So all I'm saying is there must be progress. Don't be stuck. If you have started and you are stuck or you haven't made it, keep moving. Keep moving. That's the important part. you need to persevere. And then for people who have really made it, don't say I've made it. We keep growing.
Yeah.
Don't be stuck in that thing of that mindset of I've made it. And I really speak of also integrity. As someone who has made it, you need to have integrity, because truth is you could have gone up, but the smallest of things can take you down.
Absolutely.
You need to be honesty. You need to be truthful. You need to really have, you need to be a principled someone. You understand? So if you don't have, principles, you can easily fall down because of small things. So you need to be that kind of a person who's really principled, someone who's really also willing to raise others. Don't say I'm up there now, so they'll see themselves. No, be able to raise other people. The more you raise them, the more you also go up. So yeah, it's that position of humility more than anything, because I tell you what, the smallest of things can pull someone down. Maybe you might not come down, but what's the point of you being up there if not being able to raise others? So yeah, I think it's that.
And yeah, that's real gold. Excuse the pun based on your background, but that is real golden advice. I think it's really, really important for those, who haven't started to just start, like you said. For those who are, in between, who are trying to establish themselves, to keep going, to keep persevering. And those who are established, you know what? It's a journey, and you keep climbing. I always say that once you've climbed one mountain, I'm not sure who said the quote around. You find, I think it's Nelson Mandela said, you find that there's more mountains to climb. And actually you can keep going higher each and every single time. So I really find that quite inspirational indeed. So talking about impact, right? I would define you as an impactful person through the work that you do, through the message that you send out, through the people that you inspire. But talk to me a little bit about how, or what do you think is the impact that a business like yours makes on particularly our ambitious young professionals in South Africa and beyond?
Right. More than anything, I'll say inspiration. Sometimes all people need is inspiration, for them to also rise from where they are. All they need is inspiration. For them to be able to also reveal that star that they are, all they need is inspiration. So I believe more than anything, we are really inspiring also the people like that. And also, yeah, I think more than anything, it's inspiration and being able to open opportunities for them as well, to be able to, put something on their table as well. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. And from what I've seen, I can totally concur. From what I've seen, absolutely. And I'm sure people who have, experienced, doing business with Linton, I think would absolutely concur with that. And finally, Lintle, for people who do want to reach out for business inquiries, for internships, what is the best way for them to reach out to Linton?
Okay, so our website, you can call us, you can email us. So our website is www.lintonconsultancy.com. The tel number 010-300-0887. And then our email address that you can email us on is info@lintonconsultancy.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to definitely reach out, for any inquiries that they do have, for sure. Lintle, we have come to the end of a very enthralling and exciting conversation. I want to thank you, firstly, for coming onto the show. I want to thank you for being the inspiration that you are, for the example that you set. And I want to thank you for sharing with us, the valuable lessons that you've learned, some of the nuggets of gold, around, the message to our entrepreneurs, the message to our youth in South Africa. And I think, we can all learn something from your story. And I, for one, am excited to see, where you go, the heights to which you will get to with Linton. And I wish you all the best. I want to thank you for coming onto the show, and I hope that you have enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The interview was great.
Fantastic. And to you, the listener, from Lintle and myself, we want to thank you for engaging with us. We want to thank you for listening in. Please do share this with your circle. Do share this with your friends. Do share this with your family. Do share this with your friends of friends and your family of friends as well. I believe that they will be inspired, as have you been at this stage of the episode. I want to thank you, and I hope to see you all soon. Please do subscribe to the platform that you're currently listening on, be it the podcast platforms or the YouTube channel. Please do subscribe and share. And from Lintle and myself, we want to say thank you very much and goodbye.
Goodbye.